And why don't we just get started? So before we dive into the presentation, I just want to review a few housekeeping items and let you know how you can participate in today's web event. What I am showing you here is a screen of the control panel. It's a master control for the webinar. If you want to minimize your control panel, just click on the orange arrow. The audio pane provides audio information. You have the flexibility to join the webinar via microphone and speakers or via telephone. At the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session to answer questions from the audience. And at any point during the webinar, feel free to type in your question and click send. We'll try to answer as many questions as we have time for at the conclusion of the presentation. Raise your hand during the presentation. You've already done that. We did the audio sound check. So, and lastly but not least, today's webinar is being recorded, so you can review this later or share with a colleague. Everyone will receive an email with a link to the recording within 48 hours. Okay, this is the agenda for today's presentation. First, I'll cover a little bit on who we are. Next, we'll discuss a little bit about our database security approach. And then we'll talk about streamlining the process with DB Protect, our flagship database security platform. In case you don't know who we are, Application Security is the leading vendor in database security risk and compliance. We help over 1,300 organizations secure and protect their databases and comply with regulatory mandates. We offer industry-leading solutions to information security professionals, DBAs, IT auditors, and compliance groups. Our solutions are built on Team Shatter, which is the industry's leading database threat research team. And we here at Application Security are headquartered in New York with offices worldwide. We help our customers secure their databases in a smarter and more streamlined way, a more effective database defense. Starting at the top, number one, Team Shatter. They really are our secret sauce. They are the leading threat research team. Some say having their research incorporated into DB Protect is like having additional security resources within their own organization. Team Shatter is always keeping them safe with frequent updates. Number two, our solutions use a smarter approach built around best practice, precision approach for securing databases. That is what the database security process I will get into later on. Number three, easy to deploy, easy to roll out. Our solutions are operationally efficient, meaning your stakeholders, DBAs, auditors, etc., can work in parallel so you can secure your databases in an effective manner. And I do have a number four. Our solution is software-based, all of which is built on a scalable software platform to provide maximum flexibility, and it's ideal to plug right into virtualized environments. More about Team Shatter. Shatter, which stands for Security Heuristics Application Testing Technology for Enterprise Research, is comprised of talented researchers located all around the globe. Shatter's researchers are consistently credited with vulnerability discoveries for all the major database platforms. Their work, along with their responsible disclosure policy, helps database vendors close the issues before they become exploitable. Those that are exploitable, Shatter helps promote understanding of the vulnerability impact. DB Protect incorporates the work of Team Shatter, which sets the industry standard. This group has been credited with identifying the majority of database security vulnerabilities in the Oracle database, SQL Server, DB2, and Sybase. Our experience in this field is evidenced by the total fixes that the vendors made as a direct response to the research of our team. 80% of the vulnerabilities fixed last year were reported by Team Shatter. Why is this important? Our expertise is available to you. Security products are only as good as its coverage of current threats. Our products include ASAP updates, which stands for Application Security Automatic Protection, which are monthly security updates that help you defend against the most current issues. Application Security has been providing these updates since 2002 and is the only security vendor that does this with consistency. How are database attacks happening? Sure, many threats come from the outside. It might be a SQL injection attack or a hacker trying to take advantage of a weak password account. Attacks may hit the database directly or via application connected to the database. However, it's not just hackers or cyber criminals. Insiders account for 45% of all attacks. It could be simply that an intern has rights to a sensitive database, or maybe a disgruntled administrator exposes some data. Let's take a look at threats from a database perspective. Every database has some level of normal activity associated to it, or that's performed on it. It has a collection. It has a configuration that includes vulnerabilities and misconfiguration, and it also houses a collection of privilege issues. Well, when you take these issues and multiply them across the enterprise, knowing where to focus security efforts can become extremely difficult and overwhelming for today's enterprises. Reacting to issues is like trying to fix a hole in a sinking ship. It becomes very difficult to focus and work effectively. Our approach to effective database security is to prevent and eliminate issues before they are exploited. Our solutions offer the next generation of database security and compliance. We call this approach precision database activity monitoring. DB Protect empowers enterprises to tackle database security proactively by assessing and putting controls in place before breach attempts can take advantage of them. Get rid of the majority of issues up front, and then monitor for the highest level threats based on your security policies. Reduce the amount of activity that requires monitoring means you can focus your resources, human or system, on stopping the main threats. We significantly reduce the amount of activity that requires ongoing monitoring. This significantly reduces the amount of data that gets sent over the network. Okay, let's take a look at the database security process. DB Protect supports an efficient operational model, starting with Discover. Identify the databases on your network, uncover any rogue installations, and isolate the sensitive ones. Assess. Examine databases for vulnerabilities and security misconfigurations, such as weak passwords, missing security patches, OS issues, application integrity, and excessive user privileges, so they can be corrected and attacks prevented. And monitor. Apply compensating controls to detect live threats and to capture an audit trail of privileged database activities. First and foremost, the security knowledge base by Team Shatter is the heart and soul behind the effectiveness of this process. To effectively stave off those with malicious intent, you need to be diligent by staying on top of all the vulnerabilities for all database types, including each database version that is present in your environment. You need to understand what the vulnerability is, how it can be exploited, how it may lead to data theft, or be used as a tool to plant backdoors, so that you can develop the proper security controls without affecting your business environment and before it is used to attack you. There are several great public resources where new reporting of vulnerabilities appear, as well as a historic list of existing vulnerabilities. US CERT, the United States Computer Emergency Readiness Team, maintains information about vulnerabilities. The National Vulnerability Database, called NVD, is a US government-managed vulnerabilities database. Security Focus runs BugTrack, a full disclosure mailing list for detailed discussion and announcements of computer security vulnerabilities. They also maintain a vulnerability database that keeps up-to-date information on vulnerabilities for all platforms and services. Team Shatter is a database security research group that contributes to all of these, following all the key forums, and collaborates with other researchers so that database information stays up-to-date in application security products. Having Team Shatter in the product is like having your own personal world-class team of security researchers. Inside DB Protect, our flagship database security platform, there is a section that manages the infrastructure of DB Protect, which includes information about whether the latest knowledge base is installed. Keeping current on the Shatter knowledge base reduces the effort level your teams need to make to be experts on their own. You can leverage Team Shatter to do the scouring on the internet, in news groups, in forums, and maintain and build the relationships with other researchers, and then use that expertise in your own environment. By having Team Shatter fuel DB Protect, It uses its analytics engine to evaluate all the security results that are collected to provide the insight that helps you focus on the greatest area of needs. Some of the intelligence it highlights includes comparison of risk position by organization or department or business unit or subsidiaries. Examples of toxic combinations, such as highly privileged users with weak passwords, which are powerful accounts that can be easily hacked, or toxic combinations where there are database targets that have security misconfigurations that include missing security patches. The highest privileged database accounts, users that closely resemble administrators but are not, and real-time alerts that can trigger automatic incident responses. Use the wealth of information that is collected in your database security process to target where your remediation efforts can make the biggest difference. Discover. Use discovery capabilities to keep an accurate database inventory. In today's IT world, many applications install databases in the background. Virtualized environments may spin up new databases daily. Complex applications, which is what databases are, add potential weaknesses to the IT infrastructure. You can't protect what you don't know about. Discovery is a process that will help you identify rogue databases. When you find them, you can examine them to see if they meet your corporate security standards and test them for compliance. This can be streamlined by automating the discovery. Discovery will identify the databases on the network. DB Protect makes it easy to set up a discovery process that will identify those new databases. And you can set it and forget it by automating it to be executed in the background at the frequency of your choice. Discoveries will build your inventory. It will also show you whether those databases have been scanned for security issues or not. Here is an example of databases that have been discovered. The blue bars represent databases that have been tested for security issues, but the red bars are indicators for databases that are known but have never been scanned. This is our Never Scan Assets report. It does just what it says. This is a great report. It really helps you make sure everything is getting covered. The report is organized by age, so you not only get a list of unscanned systems, but you can set a goal for how quickly systems should be scanned after being discovered, and then manage to that goal. The assessment stage is about eliminating vulnerabilities and enforcing least privileges so that the databases on your IT network are hardened and cannot be used to attack the environment or its data. This is about prevention, eliminating the threats before they can occur. Assessing all of your databases for security issues gives you a clear picture of where the weaknesses are. Besides assessing the database at the system level, it is equally important to examine the users and objects in the database to ensure that the least privilege model is being followed. By restricting access, you are eliminating vectors that can lead to attack. The rights review process can be automated to harvest and unravel the complete picture of complex database privileges, the most error-prone and usually incomplete aspect of the process. Having an accurate snapshot of privileges is the key artifact for proper access certification. A comprehensive security review of the database will provide a clear understanding of where the majority of problems lie. Results are categorized by root cause and subcategorized into information levels, easily read by standard color indicators for high, medium, low, and informational findings. Details of the security findings are to be presented to the database teams, the personnel that will address and remediate the problem. In order to correct the problem successfully, the issue must be well understood, and DB Protect provides all the high-level information as well as the details within a knowledge base article. As an example, here is the knowledge base article for the create database link buffer overflow. Team Shatter writes up the detailed information on each vulnerability we scan for and each exploit we monitor for. This is your go-to source for detailed information on what each vulnerability means and what you can do about it. It always includes a CVE identifier, a complete description of the vulnerability, the versions of the databases affected, information on how to fix and address the problem, and also other third-party references so you can easily triangulate information from other sources. This is just the type of information that sets a consistent high bar for security and database personnel alike. DBProtect Rights Management is our deep dive into the database's privilege management system. Our rights review scan analyzes the privileges in your databases in order to answer some simple, important, but normally really hard to answer questions like, who are your privileged users? And who has access to your critical database objects? On the left part of the screen, you can see our most privileged users dashboard. DBProtect has determined that these are the most powerful users in the environment, the users with the most privileges on the largest number of databases. These are potentially scary users who, if they decide to go bad, can really do extensive damage. And for each user, you can drill into the details so you can correct any excessive privileges issue. To set up an assessment in DBProtect, you can set up a credential scan called an audit, which is a deep granular review, or you can set up an uncredentialed scan called a pen test, which is a simulated hack review, or a rights review, which harvests the privileges at a specific point in time. Jobs in DBProtect provide email notifications if errors occur and job completion, so that there is no need for operators to spend time watching monitor screens. If issues do occur, a designated administrator will be notified, and the problems can be easily corrected via a centralized web interface. And like anything else we want to streamline, we want to automate assessments. Every assessment job can be scheduled to run in the background on a repeated schedule, and there is a feature-rich scheduler that can schedule jobs to be executed daily, weekly, quarterly, semi-monthly, last day of the month or quarter, specific days, or whatever schedule that is most sensible to you. And with these assessments, a key component of the DBProtect architecture is storing results in a centralized pool of scan data so that any user in an organization with appropriate rights can draw from it to feed his reports and dashboards. All stakeholders, including DBAs, compliance auditors, IT security groups, and executives can work in parallel with their own customized views to the same credential data set. This approach to scanning and reporting will help optimize security and compliance initiatives by reducing the need to scan the same system multiple times for different purposes. Last but not least in the database security lifecycle is the compensating control to monitor what you can't fix. DBProtect Activity Monitoring provides real-time alerting of active intrusions and suspicious behavior. It offers automated incident response mechanisms like blocking of compromised connections. The activity monitoring component also stores an audit trail of privileged database activities so that you have a forensically viable log for investigation if an incident does occur. When an attack or policy violation does occur, DBProtect fires an alert in real time. One of the places where you can see those alerts is here on the DBProtect monitoring alert screen. This is a live view of alerts aggregated from all the databases that DBProtect is monitoring. Events are risk ranked and then color-coded. Red ones would be high risk. Yellow represents medium risk events, and blue low risk. Here's the detailed view of an alert. As you can see, DBProtect has captured the database user that attempted the attack, the host name of the system they launched the attack from, the network or OS username, and the exact SQL text they sent at the database. We can even see the name of the database client software they use. Since we've got active response enabled, this attacker was stopped. But we still see details about the attack so we can take further action. This is all set up so alerts are generated to notify a SOC or NOC or operations center if an incident is actually taking place. So it's time to wrap up today's presentation. A brief summary on streamlining your database security process. Application Security is a leading provider of database security solutions dating back to 2001. Our solutions are enabled by the security research provided by Team Chatter. The database security process is a simple yet very effective model for securing the protection of the database environment. It includes focus areas to discover, to assess, and to monitor. And to streamline those efforts, a solution needs to cut through the massive amount of security data and identify the areas of highest risk so you can plan effectively. And it's all about automation, automating the tasks so that it runs in the background, freeing up your resources to correct issues across the entire IT infrastructure. So this concludes our presentation today. We certainly hope some of this information was helpful. And I'll turn it back to Jeff for some questions and answers.
Great, thanks, Rich. If you do have any questions, please look at the at your control panel and type your question into the questions box, and we'll go ahead and try to get that answered. A popular question that we're getting here is, will this webinar be recorded? Can we get a copy? The answer to that question is yes. We are recording this webinar, and a copy will be sent out. Look for an email over the next 24 to 48 hours. Next question that comes in, Rich. This one will be for you, and this is. Let me try to read this. I'm a database administrator, and I need to get some detailed reports, but I also need some reports to hand up to my manager.
Mm-hmm.
Does your solution have those types of reports to support both of us? Like that?
Yeah, it does. Actually, that's one of the key features of DBProtect is having all of the raw security information available in the product itself, and then a powerful analytics engine that helps to translate that information both for DBA consumption as well as executives and managers who want to see the top-level indicators of where the risks are. Yeah. Yes, I mean, that's certainly if you'd like to see a further demonstration of that, please contact Application Security, and one of our representatives can help walk you through the product and see a much deeper demonstration of its capabilities.
Great. Next question looks to be about monitoring. We are just getting started with securing our databases. We wanted to start monitoring our environment. Is this the right approach, or should we do something else first?
I wouldn't say whether it's a correct or incorrect approach. What I've described here, at least in today's presentation, is a database security lifecycle. And certainly it's a lifecycle you can start at any point in that lifecycle of discovery, assessment, and monitoring. So certainly monitoring is a fine way to get started. The key is to simply get started with a particular part of the lifecycle, but also realize that you can't really stop at just one stage. You do need a complete lifecycle to have a well-balanced database security approach. So certainly monitoring is a good start. You find the databases that have the highest sensitivity to your business environment, and that's certainly a good way to get started. Discovery and assessment capabilities will help round that out in terms of giving you capabilities that will help to prevent possible avenues of attack So certainly a layered approach is definitely the best approach. But monitoring is a good place to start.
Great, thanks. This question is around scheduling. Can you talk a little bit more about the scan schedules, some of the new capabilities within the product? We're a current DB Protect customer.
So for existing customers of DB Protect, you'll be very familiar with our capabilities to set up assessments in an automated fashion. The latest version of DB Protect has many new capabilities and upgrade to the way tasks and jobs are actually set up in the product to be much more intuitive than they have been in the past. But the scheduling system is very feature-rich in terms of what you can schedule in terms of your jobs, which are really your defined business goals for what your assessment purposes are. And it includes, basic scheduling functionality that allows you to schedule your jobs, starting from, what you're testing, what are you testing for, who should be recipients of the information, and how to share that information out to the various stakeholders that exist, and to place them on an automated schedule so that it all runs in the background, so that there is very little time spent on setting that process up.
Yeah, that's really an important thing to talk about in terms of the automation. I guess we have time for one last question. This question is around database applications and database users. As most database connections use service accounts, how does DB Protect handle some of these accounts that use usernames and passwords to log into the system compared to actual users that log into the account? Could you talk a little bit about that type of situation, Rich?
Yeah. So from an assessment, I'll start from an assessment standpoint when it comes to user accounts. Assessments tend to have two levels that you really want to take a look at. One is at the system level, which is really assessing that the configuration is completely hardened. And the second part of that is really from the users and objects perspective. And so when you look at the users and objects perspective, you're really trying to identify the privileges that user accounts have. And you can break that out into two different categories. There are applications that are deemed normal types of, there are applications that have user accounts that are used to programmatically to connect to the database and feed in an application. So there are entitlement reviews that you can perform to ensure that those specific accounts are also following a least privilege model. So service accounts need to do that also to make sure that they only have the capabilities that are necessary for it to perform the tasks that are programmatic for the application that's running, versus privileged users, which would typically connect, to perform their administrative functions. So definitely you want to examine their user rights to make sure that they have restricted access to perform only the job function that they actually need to do. And the next part of that process is really to set up activity monitoring to determine, to keep an audit trail and to watch for suspicious behavior from both your application accounts as well as your DBAs to make sure that they are only doing the types of work and activity on the database that they are supposed to for their job function.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you, Rich, for some of those answers. We're going to go ahead and wrap up now, so if you go ahead and look for an email from us over the next 24 to 48 hours, you'll receive the recording in that time frame. And again, if you want to do any type of follow-up, Rich's email address is on here, or contact our sales team at sales@appsetinc.com. So thanks very much, everyone, for attending today.
Thanks a lot, Jeff, and thanks all to who that have attended.